Of your life.
I will. Microphones, please. Microphones, please.
Oh, I think I turned it off.
Good evening and welcome to the December the 11th, 2023 planning meeting.
October. You said December.
Did I?
That's my birthday, so.
October 11th, 2023, school board meeting, planning meeting. We did have an executive session for student matters. That's why we're a little on the behind side here. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of Southwestern School District. The Board of Directors meetings are open to the public, but are not public meetings. Those wishing to speak to the board shall do so only during the public comment section of the meeting and may only make public comment at one point during the meeting. Before we proceed any further, I'd like to have everyone stand and pledge the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Jeff.
Mrs. Berger. Mrs. Boyer.
Here.
Mr. Klausby. Here. Mr. Galazella. Here. Mr. Mummert.
Here.
Mr. Plessick. Here. Mrs. Weaver.
Here.
Mrs. Jinxt.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you, Jeff. We do have a number of people who have signed in, and all will be made a part of the written minutes of the meeting. Additions, deletions, and modifications to the agenda.
There are 3 additions to the agenda this evening, all to be under program committee. So that adds 8B, 2, 3, and 4. Shall I read them now and later?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So for 2, It is a recommendation to approve the settlement agreement for a placement of a student with disabilities. Item 3 is a recommendation to approve the expulsion of student 23-24-2. And number 4 is a recommendation to approve the expulsion of student 23-24-3.
Okay. We have, made that a motion?
I am making a motion to add those 3 items to the agenda this evening.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Second? Matt, second. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, those items have been added to our agenda forthcoming. Hearing of persons who wish to address the board, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address any agenda items this evening? Okay. Our next is Personnel Committee, Mrs. Berger, in her absence. Mr. Klausby, would you please take 8A, leaves and.
Certainly, Mr. Muller. I'd like to make a motion that the board approve agenda items 8A, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Second.
We have a motion by Jay Klausby and a second by Rich Plessick for agenda item 8A, 1 through 4. Comments or questions? Anyone? Roll call, please, Jeff.
Mrs. Boyer,
Yes.
Mr. Klausby,
Yes.
Mr. Galazella,
Yes.
Mr. Plessick,
Yes.
Mrs. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Jinks,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mr. Mummert.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Jay. Next on our agenda is 8B Program Committee, Mrs. Weaver.
Good evening. I'd like to make a recommendation that we approve items 8B, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I'd like to ask that we pull out number 1
Okay.
and
Just
then,
revise it.
Okay, I'll revise my motion to recommend that we approve item 8B1.
second.
We have a motion by Amanda Weaver and a second by Rich Plessick for 8B, number 1. Comments, questions?
This is the recommendation to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Community Progress Council and Bearsville Elementary School for the foster grandparent program of York County to provide meals for a foster grandparent during their volunteer service at Bearsville.
Comments?
Second, right?
There was
There
a
was a
second.
second.
That's
Rich.
right, sorry.
Yes. Roll call, please, Jeff.
Mr. Klausby,
Yes.
Mr. Galazella,
Yes.
Mr. Plessick,
Yes.
Mrs. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Jinks,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Boyer,
Yes.
Mr. Mummert.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
I would like to make a recommendation that we approve items 8B, 2, 3, and 4 this evening.
Second.
We have a motion by Amanda Weaver and a second from Cindy Boyer for 8B, numbers 2, 3, and 4.
And I did, those are the items that we just added that were already read aloud.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Roll call, please, Jeff.
Mr. Galazella,
Yes.
Mr. Plessick,
Abstain.
Mrs. Weaver,
Yes.
Mrs. Jinks,
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman,
Yes.
Mrs. Boyer,
Yes.
Mr. Klausby,
Yes.
Mr. Mummert.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention.
Okay, item 9, proposed October 25th, 2023 agenda items. Dr. Burkhart.
It'll just be the standard. There's nothing at the moment that sticks out.
Okay. Next, item 10, planning and discussion. Any items of planning and discussion?
Yes, at your place, you'll see information regarding the PSBA officer elections for this year. We get this information every year, and if the board is so inclined, the board votes on the officers. You'll notice that there are only one person running for each open position, so it's really not a contested election, or two people running for two open positions if it gets down to the PSBA insurance trustees. I have included in your packet how the process works and the bios from the various candidates that had them listed online. We would put this on the agenda for the meeting, the regular board meeting, the end of the month, October 25th.
Fifth.
For approval, we have to have it in by the 27th. So that's one item.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Sorry, Jeff. Okay.
All right, one other quick item, just an update for the board. We do anticipate going out to the market tomorrow to sell our bonds for the high school project, the $15 million 2023 issue. We had a conference call today with our underwriters. They informed us, as we probably all know, that interest rates have gone up since they last spoke to us back in August. Back then, they were estimating our annual cost would be $980,000 for that $15 million bond issue. Because of the increased interest, now they're estimating it to be $1,050,000 or a $70,000 increase. Keep in mind, the interest rates that we receive on the monies and the proceeds is also going up, so we will be able to get some bang for the buck out of that as well. We will know tomorrow at some point in time what the final results are. I expect them to be a little bit better than what they're anticipating, but the bond interest rates have gone down this past week because of the unrest over in the Middle East. So, any questions? That's just an update.
Any questions on that item at this point?
I just have a question for you. Is this like your Super Bowl?
I'm sorry?
Like putting out the bonds, is this like your Super Bowl? Are you super excited? Is this a lengthy process? I've never done this.
Super Bowl would be a stretch.
Okay.
Playoff game.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't
That's
know.
fair. That's fair. Well, thank you and good luck to your team.
Thanks.
Okay, under next item of visitors, we do have two folks who wish to address the board. First, Mindy Blevins.
Good evening, Mindy Blevins, school board candidate. I have just two brief things. I know there are conversations around dropping federal funding. Although I understand some of the reasons behind this thought, I worry about the negative impact. Almost assuredly, this would greatly impact our community tax dollars, or we would have to reduce, if not eliminate, certain programs that benefit from the federal monies we receive. Federal funds help pay for state mandated programs that we as a district must provide to our students. Receiving that money allows us to fund other programs that are not mandatory but beneficial to our students and families. Without federal funds, we would have to pull funding from those programs to pay for ones that are mandatory. Some of those potentially cut programs could be full-day kindergarten, G4 security, and free and reduced lunches for over 1,300 children in the district. So I just want to make sure that voters understand that. One other topic I would like to address is our athletic programs and the supportive funds they receive. As I've mentioned before, these programs are extremely important to our kids and motivate them to do well in the classroom. It is my understanding our middle school boys football team is utilizing equipment that is more than 20 years old. This is just one example, and I am sure there are other teams that have dated equipment as well and could use funds toward equipment and other things. Good equipment keeps our kids safe, and that should be a priority to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Next is Justin Lighty.
Justin Lighty, also school board candidate. I would like to address a statement that was made at the last board meeting. An employee of this district thought it appropriate to label himself the arbiter of truth and claim that the board was not correcting misinformation. I believe everyone in this district has a right to express their opinion and to speak freely in these meetings, but claiming to be the final word on what is true or not is completely inappropriate, especially for an employee of this district. First of all, the idea of misinformation has become a tool to silence political opposition. That is completely inappropriate in this setting. Having discussions and talking openly about the issues is how we address topics in a nonpartisan way so that people of this district understand what is going on here. Secondly, the reason I hate the idea of misinformation is because usually the one using this term to shut down the speech of others is actually the one that is misinformed, and this situation is no different. The comments from 2 weeks ago were prefaced by asking Dr. Burkhardt and Dr. Friel if they had, quote, seen or heard of teachers or subject areas that promote anti-white, race hate, communist Marxist ideas in the classroom or curriculum, end quote. Both answered no, that is false. In 2020, I contacted Dr. Burkhardt, who connected me with Dr. Friel about a concerning assignment that had been given to my high schooler. The assignment was to watch Robin DiAngelo's Deconstructing White Privilege and post on a comment board their thoughts of how they could be better advocates. This video and its author, who wrote the book White Fragility, are the epitome of anti-white, possibly race hate, and I believe communist Marxist propaganda. Dr. Friel confirmed that the specific assignment was not in the written curriculum, but had been assigned. So despite them not recalling this incident, it did take place, and I had the emails to confirm that. Everything else in this person's statement at the last board meeting was based on this misinformation. I don't say this to accuse anyone of deception. I recognize that this is a few years ago and people forget things. My point is that one person cannot claim to be the district's fact checker. I never thought some of the stuff that I was hearing would happen in our school, but it is. And if you believe that this is an isolated incident, then I think you are intentionally ignorant. I think that this teacher is refusing to acknowledge what we all know is happening and the issues that this country is facing for the last 3 years. You can't be the one telling the truth if you shield yourself from what you don't want to hear. Only open discussion of ideas will bring the best ones to the top. Now to address a few other comments. This person also asked a convoluted question to administration about students becoming social advocates. Considering there was a whole group of students applauding a speech that was based on false information, I think we know the real answer to this question. No one is blind to the fact that every time social issues are being discussed in this board, we have a teacher bringing massive students to the meeting to be activists. The social activism pipeline this teacher was questioning was sitting right behind him. And finally, a further example of how ridiculous this rhetoric is the statement was made, and I quote, "Are we a district that promotes diversity, or are we going to be here for the good kids and cast aside the vulnerable?" End quote. What exactly does this statement mean? This statement would have been fine until you prefaced it with diversity. Now you are claiming there is a racial component and making the assertion that good kids are white and that diverse kids are all vulnerable. You see, this is ridiculous and exactly the problem with this race-baiting rhetoric. It gets you tied up in knots because it's all bull. So let's drop all this divisive trash and treat every kid the same. They deserve it no matter what their situation. I hope we can agree that there are some things kids just do not understand. If you do not grasp that there are subjects beyond a child's capability, then you should not be teaching children. Scientifically, we know brains are not fully developed until the age of 25, and you are claiming that they can understand these intricate social issues in grade school. Topics like this should be reserved for graduate studies and beyond, and not pushed on children by activist teachers. I have no personal issue with this person, and I've heard good things about them from students and other teachers. And I honestly don't think that he believes everything that was written down on his note cards. But the statement made 2 weeks ago was filled with leftist buzzwords, and that concerns me. So congratulations, you have my attention.
Anyone else? Hearing and seeing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn? Jay, is there a second? Tom? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all for your attendance and participation.